Welcome back to the Empire Builders podcast. Dave Young here alongside Stephen Semple. And Stephen has just told me what the topic for today's episode is. And I have some thoughts.
I sure hope so.
I have. So we're going to talk about Wizard Academy. We've mentioned it quite a few times on the podcast. And uh, I don't know that it falls into the pantheon of super empire type brands, but the things that Wizard Academy teaches have definitely helped some businesses achieve at least some local empire status in the growth of their business. Thank you for making this one of the topics.
Yeah, and part of the reason why I wanted it as one of the topics is, first of all, we've referred to it a lot, and so we
Hmm.
might as well let people know what the heck this thing is that we refer to. You work there. I'm a major donor there. Um, Taught there a few times. Been a student there a lot of times.
Hmm.
And the thing I find incredible is, look, it's not a big school. When you go to do a class, it's not 100 people. It's small classes. It's like 18
Yeah.
people. But when I was there last, like when I taught the course there with Matthew Burns and Gary Bernier, we had people from the Czech Republic. We had somebody from Australia. I've been there where there's been people from Central America and South America. Like when you go and there's people that are from around the world coming to this little place, it fits it to a degree because it tells us how special this place is. So let's
Yeah.
let's talk a little bit about the specialness of it and the origin of it.
I love it. Yeah. So origin wise, man, I'll go back to my origin and my first exposure to Roy Williams, who founded Wizard Academy. I was managing my family's small market radio stations in Nebraska, starting in the mid '80s, and in the radio world, the radio broadcasting world, there are national groups like the National Association of Broadcasters, the Radio Advertising Bureau, and there's only ever been a handful of privately held industry publications that focused entirely on the radio broadcast industry. One of those is a magazine called Radio Inc. And it's not INC like incorporated, it's Radio Inc. as in Printers Inc., INK, and started by a guy named Eric Rhodes, who and I'm not sure how he and Roy first met. And by the way, Roy's got a hilarious story about Eric Rhodes' dad. Speaking of empire building, um, we'll save that for another time. But Roy started writing a column for Radio Inc. in the '90s, and the column was just, hey, here are some things that you ought to consider when you're writing ads for businesses and you're in the radio business, or here are some tips for radio salespeople to sell more long form kind of schedules. And so I'd been reading those. You'd go to the post office once a month, and there'd be the Radio Inc. in the mail, and it was always exciting because it was great writing. It was one of the few pieces of industry focused journalism that was really engaging if you were in the radio business. And Roy's column was always like the first thing I looked at. And at
Right.
some point, he started doing the Monday Morning Memo, and I think promoted it in the Radio Inc. article. Hey, if you want to subscribe to the Monday Morning Memo, send us a fax at this number. This
Yeah.
is before email,
Yep.
right? So the Monday Morning Memo was originally delivered as a fax.
Yeah, and the interesting thing when you go to Roy's books, and he's written 3 Wall Street Journal best-selling books, Wizard of Ads, Secret Formulas,
Magical Worlds.
Magical
Yeah.
Worlds. All the chapters are 2 pages long because many of those were original faxes, and there's no way Roy was sending
Yeah.
a 3-page fax at a buck a
No.
page.
In fact, each Monday Morning Memo fit on one single sheet of paper.
Right, yeah.
Because if you're faxing thousands of people overnight on Sunday night, you're not faxing them 2 sheets. And remember, this is the '90s when it was still long distance charges to
Yeah, if it
send
was
someone a
outside your area
fax.
code. Yeah, yeah, exactly.
And the call took as long as it takes for a fax machine to send a page of data.
So he starts off on the Radio Inc. It goes to Then he has this fax list, which then leads to ultimately, today you can subscribe to it and you get an
Yeah.
email. The other remarkable thing is he's never missed a week in the 30
Oh,
some odd
yeah.
years
Yeah.
that he's been doing it.
He loves teaching the things.
Yeah, and then that then led, I believe, to them doing one-day seminars at the office in Buda, Texas.
Well, before they even did that, they were doing them at hotels.
Oh, I didn't realize that. Okay.
And they were paying big bucks once a month to like rent, the conference room at the Four Seasons or somewhere. And it was costing quite a bit. And these were free, right? They weren't charging
Right.
anyone. They're just saying, hey, let us know if you're going to come. But it was a way to generate interest and find new clients, because the people that would
Right.
come would be business owners that were really interested in finding out how he was growing some of his clients' businesses. And they eventually ended up just deciding, hey, let's just do this. They had a little gym at their home office in Buda, Texas, and they turned that into a classroom that seated about 20 or 30 people.
Right.
And we're doing these. I think it was a free public seminar on the first Friday of every month.
Yes, that's what I recall.
Yeah, if you emailed and said or called and said, "Hey, I'm going to come down for that one," now they'd know how many people to order for lunch.
Yeah, and what I remember hearing from Penny, that's Roy's wife, is that what would happen is people would, after the class, hang out
Hmm.
forever in the parking lot. And she was the one who said, "Hey, Roy, we need to create a place
Yeah,
for doing this." And then
yeah.
that started the hunt for finding the property, which Penny found.
Hmm.
Penny found and bought the property that the campus has now been built on.
I started coming to Wizard Academy 25 years ago. It was
All right.
2000 or so, and that was
Wow.
in the first class I took was not even in that gym. It was in an upstairs kind of attic that would maybe seat 14, 15 people, and they'd cram 20 in. And if the fire marshal ever saw it,
There
would
would
have
have been a
been,
problem.
yeah, it would have been a problem.
Yeah.
Um, and so, yeah, Penny's also the one that told Roy, why don't you just start teaching this stuff instead of doing the 1 day free public seminar? You've got way more material. Start doing it as a 2 day or a 3 day class, and that's what became Magical Worlds, which is sort of our foundational class on what Wizard Academy believes and what Roy has developed and taught over the years. So my history with it goes back that far, and then I became one of his advertising partners, marketing partners, shortly after that, a year or two later. Now,
Right.
I was down here in 2004. That's when they had finally found this land and closed on it. And I actually have old potato quality photos of Roy on the campus in 2004, like holding a piece of red string saying and pointing and saying, this is where the tower is going to be.
Right.
And this
Right.
is where the chapel's going to be. And this is where all these different things, right? They knew then.
Yeah. And it's remarkable. There's a student residence, there's a tower where the
Hmm.
classes is, there's the whiskey vault, there's the chapel, which does like 1,000 free weddings a
Yeah,
year. And there's a whole
1,082 in
we
24.
could do a whole episode on Chapel Dulcinea, which I think we
Hmm.
will do in future. But I just want to share this with folks. Magical Worlds is like there is no course like it. Every year in my career, I've always made sure I do at least one course. I'm a firm believer in working on your skills,
Hmm.
working on your craft, becoming better, seeking out that knowledge. And when I went and took Magical Worlds, and I should have looked up how long ago it was, but I think it was 15 years ago, 15, 16 years ago. I was so blown away by that course. I took it a second time
Hmm.
a few years later, and it will forever change how you look at marketing and how you
Sure.
look at communication. And it not only will make you a better writer, but even if you're not a better writer, it will make you better at understanding what is good marketing and what is not good marketing.
Hmm.
And that's super important. And you'll never look at the world the same way again. It is that
That's what I was
profound.
going to say. It's not just advertising and marketing. You won't look at the world quite the same way.
Stay tuned. We're going to wrap up this story and tell you how to apply this lesson to your business right after this.
Hey Rick, do you ever feel like
Yeah, I do. Spinning my wheels, getting no traction.
I was going to say like we're part of a computer simulation, like the Matrix?
Oh, I guess.
Your business still isn't growing, huh?
Nope.
Working harder, spending more, going down rabbit holes, but not growing.
Exactly. Going through the motions, like Neo at the beginning.
Well, you could talk to the host.
The guy on this podcast?
Sounds like he's figured out all the secrets for growth.
I mean, these stories are interesting.
It doesn't cost anything to talk to him.
That's true. Maybe I should get plugged in.
Come on, do it. I want to hear what your ads sound like when they play at the beginning of this podcast.
When you say stuff like that, it does sound like we're in the Matrix.
Watch this. Take the blue pill, Dave.
Let's pick up our story where we left off, and trust me, you haven't missed a thing.
I went for, nearly 20 years, just like you, going back and taking class after class. Would come down and go to partner meetings, but taking classes from Wizard Academy. And in 2004, Roy turned Wizard Academy into a nonprofit 501c3 educational foundation. So what does that mean? It means that Wizard Academy, people sometimes, like, one of the most asked questions we get when we're touring somebody is like, well, what's the catch? What are you trying to sell us here?
Nothing.
I was like, we're not trying to sell you a thing, right? Not one.
Well, we might be trying to sell you on being a major donor.
Maybe. We don't put the hard sell on anybody for things like that.
No, you don't.
And by the way, I tried to recreate a history of you and Wizard Academy, and I found that maybe your earliest Magical Worlds was in 2014. But we
2014?
we have some kind of holes in our database from about 2006 to 2014. So it may just be that that's the earliest you showed up on that spreadsheet.
Yeah, I think it was a few years earlier.
That makes
than
sense. That would make sense to me.
And here's the other thing that's cool. Staying on campus, experiencing the campus. The campus is like nowhere you've seen before. It's this crazy place, but totally changes how you look at communication.
Sure.
Totally changes how you look at it. It is deeply profound. And I'm going to take it again. Because now it's being taught by Daniel Whittington. And Daniel is incredible in his own right in terms of the whiskey channel that he built and the distillery and all this other stuff. So Daniel will tell you his success came from sitting in the back of that class,
Oh, sure.
taking those ideas and applying it to his social media, which blew his social media up into being, at one point, when he and Rex were doing it together, they had the world's largest whiskey following.
They still have the two largest. There's
Is
Whiskey
it-
Tribe,
they-
and I think there may be one or two that are bigger now, but they each have about
Right.
500,000 subscribers on the YouTube channels.
Here's what I asked Daniel recently when he started teaching it. After a period of time, I asked him, I said, Daniel, is it now yours? Do you feel like you've now made it yours? And he said, yeah, he feels like it's his. And so I want to take it from the perspective of, I want to see how he's actually taken this stuff and applied it and used it. And I think that's really
and
cool.
I'll tell you, at its core, it's still the ideas that Roy put together 25 years ago.
For sure. Yeah.
But yes, it's definitely got a Daniel twist to it. And likewise, in 2021, they had an opening for a vice chancellor. Roy had made Daniel, who was the vice chancellor, the chancellor of Wizard Academy, and Zach Smith was process of kind of transitioning out. And so they had this opening, and I threw my hat in, and they said, oh yeah, we'd be happy to have Dave come be the vice chancellor. So I wear two hats in this wizard world.
Yeah.
Marketing consulting work alongside Stephen, and then I am the vice chancellor of Wizard Academy. So I have a foot in each side, but it's been my joy and privilege to take on the class that we call Portals in the 12 Languages of the Mind.
Phenomenal course, by the way. Phenomenal course.
It's another one of our foundational classes. And I like to tell people, like, my goal for the class is not some rubric of here's what you're going to learn. It's no, you're going to walk away thinking about things differently.
Yeah, and I've been a student in that class, and it's a phenomenal class. Yeah, and when I say student in the class, I just want people to know I pay the same as what any other student would pay.
Yeah, and you were a student in the first one that I taught.
Yes, yeah,
that was
great.
just 2024 in January, and
yeah, it was a great class. I highly recommend it. So, what I want to do is is I wanted people to get a little bit of a feel for this. People believe so much in this place that there's this very wide donor base. All of
Mhm.
this stuff has been built. It's debt free. There's many, many, many major donors and annual donors and things along that lines. And they all do it because this place is special to them and they've learned and experienced things there. Like,
Yeah.
that's why I do it. I do it because it has contributed to my life. When you get something like that, it's special. So I really encourage people, take a course. Take a course
Yeah.
at the Wizard Academy. Go down. Magical Worlds is the one you probably should do. It's the best one to start with. But if there's others that tickle your fancy, they're all amazing. They're all
Now,
absolutely amazing.
we do a couple things because, as you said, it's hard to describe this place, right? It's like you go home and you start talking to people about what the rooms are like, and there's a tower, and there's a hidden room in the tower, just like you'd expect in a wizard's tower. And people look at you like you joined some kind of weird cult. And so we like to say, look, there are a couple filters in place. One is the name Wizard Academy. And if you don't think you belong at a place called Wizard Academy because that seems too silly to you, don't come. We don't need you.
Right.
Well, you're fine. You're probably right. You're way too serious a person to go to a place called Wizard Academy. So stay home. But we also, if you do come, we encourage you to bring your spouse or your special person in your life for free. And we do that because it's so hard to describe when you get home. And
Yes.
if you both sit through the class, it dramatically increases the buy-in and the likelihood that you're going to do and execute some of the things that you learn in our classes.
Yeah.
Now, can I give one little insider secret? Just this is, by the
Sure.
way, this is just for listeners to the Empire Builders podcast. Don't share this with other people. All right.
Okay. Let's hear it.
We do a thing called alumni pricing. All right. If you've been a student of ours in the past,
Oh, okay.
and paid like Magical Worlds has a sticker price of $5,000. It's a 3-day class. You get lodging and meals all included, but it's still $5,000. But if you've been a student before, you get to take classes at 50% off of the sticker price. So if you've never taken a class from Wizard Academy, guess what we also consider to qualify you for alumni pricing? Any of our online classes. We have a few, like there's an ad writing 101 class that costs a few $100 that Roy taught. Like, it's kind of fun just watching the videos because they're, honest to God, 20 years old, right? And but for a few $100, you become an alumni. If you like whiskey, we have a $150 bona fide whiskey enthusiast class that's 100% online. But once you've passed that class, you're now an alumni of Wizard Academy, and you can sign up for other classes at half price. So I just saved you, $2,350 on your Magical Worlds class. You're welcome.
Nice. Nice.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you for that,
That's
David.
the insider tip right there.
And then the other benefit you get is you get to meet David in the flesh when you go down to these classes.
Well, I mean, there's no price you can put on that.
That's simply priceless.
hadn't-
All right, awesome. I just thought it was important that we talked about the origin of this, and it's really cool when you think Roy started writing these things for this magazine, which then, doing the classes, which led then to doing the classes office, which then led to the books, which then led to creating of these things. And it's just really interesting when you keep at something, how it can go from this thing that's small to this thing that's pretty big.
Yeah, as we've grown on the partnership side, we've got 70 or 80 people that are now what we call Wizard of Ads partners. And for the most part, we've all come through Wizard Academy in one
Yes.
way or another, right? So that gives us a shared understanding and a shared vocabulary.
Yeah.
And I think that's really important. You're going to get kind of that same philosophy of marketing
Yeah.
with whichever partner you decide to explore options with. So
Yeah. So it's cool. I'm glad we had a chance to have this conversation about the Wizard
when
Academy.
am I going to see you down in a class next time? You said Magical
well-
Worlds again.
No, I'm Banana Ball with you.
Banana Ball. Oh, that's right. Banana Ball.
I'm one of your
remember you saying it.
students.
Yes. Awesome. I'm looking forward to that one. That's in April.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Stephen.
Awesome. Thanks.
Thanks for listening to the podcast. Please share us, subscribe on your favorite podcast app, and leave us a big, fat, juicy 5-star rating and review at Apple Podcasts. And if you'd like to schedule your own 90-minute empire building session, you can do it at empirebuildingprogram.com.